We had a great opportunity to go to Hawaii as a group this year for the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, which was something that was really special to be a part of. All the history and everything associated with that place, and to be there and see it and meet survivors and meet active duty Navy and Army and everything was fantastic and a really special experience for us.
Most of the guys on the team were born either between '94 and '99, so even September 11th for some of them was kind of a memory that they've heard about but hadn't experienced. So we met survivors, which I was hopeful that we would do, and we engaged with the military while we were there. So that was the original intention, and I think far exceeded what my intentions were.
For me, that moment came when we went and visited the USS Arizona Memorial, and you saw the names of all the people who passed away and died in the attacks from that base. And for me, was the moment where it really sunk in, and a little bit more of the history. And yeah, I would say that for me, and being on the boat and actually being in the harbor itself was a pretty surreal moment for me.
The memorial itself is incredibly well done. I think when you walk on to the memorial, you know, sort of not sure what you're walking on to at first, but it's white marble, and it's open air, and then there's all the names of the men who passed away, who died that day, and then you're right on top of the boat. It was quiet, which I think it should have been, and I think you sort of see from the front of the boat to the back of the boat while you're there. There's buoys that mark where you are. You see how big the ship is. You see like quarts of oil coming up in the water.
Everyone knows the tragedies that went on 75 years ago, and a lot of people were deeply affected by the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And personally, I've had family survive the Holocaust as well as pass away during the Holocaust. So World War II has always had a special place in my heart. And to be able to see kind of the beginning stages of America entering the war was a very sobering moment.
Out of all the events, I'd say the aircraft carrier, having dinner on the aircraft carrier was by far the coolest event. I mean, it was amazing. I'd never been on a machine like that or a boat or anything of that scale, so that was incredible. But the best part for me was talking to and interacting with the people who worked on the boat, all the military personnel. I mean, just hearing about their daily lives, the jobs they did, where they're from, what they like to do. A lot of them were my age too, so it was really cool to sort of see life from their perspective and sort of compare it to my own, and it was an incredible experience.
Hi, aloha, welcome. Sorry. Aloha.
We had a luau the last night, which was awesome. A couple guys got up and danced and really got to experience the culture in that sense firsthand. And then naturally being in Hawaii, being able to go actually see the beach and be out there and see the water of the Pacific. That's my first time being out in the Pacific Ocean, so it was fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Malu, make some noise.
The luau was great for a number of different reasons. The first one being there was good energy there, and it felt like a family atmosphere. What I really liked about it was, we had a tough loss that day to Cal, and we were playing the next night. So, whenever you lose, sometimes you're in your own head. Maybe you're not fully ready to converse with everybody, but right away we were taken completely out of that.
We were practicing it earlier, so I want you guys to do it again. Make sure you're filled with aloha. You gotta do me a favor. Look to the person on your left or your right or directly across from you. On the count of 3, give them a warm aloha.
We were engaging with our alums, we were engaging with our family members, and it just felt like home. And then, of course, the luau was great. I don't think any of us had really ever experienced one. Getting us up on the dance floor, and the guys are still talking about Mike LeBlanc and some of the stuff he was doing. So that was a really fun night. Well, we traveled a long way to play 2 games, and the games, while they weren't secondary, it was really, being there was about the celebration of the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. That's the first thing. But the games themselves meant a lot more by playing them in front of active duty military servicemen and women, I thought.
Basketball fans, we ask that you now rise as we welcome to center court Devin Kennedy, Spencer Weiss, and Stephen Cook from Princeton University. Please join us as we honor the United States of America with the Pledge of Allegiance.
You grow up saying the Pledge of Allegiance in elementary school every morning, You say it to the flag and you know the meaning behind it, but to say it in front of military personnel willing to sacrifice their lives for our freedom certainly takes it to another level.
Block Arena, from the time we walked in, had just a very different vibe from, I think, anywhere that any of us had played before. It was very old. The floor was like dark wood. The lights were extremely bright.
I think it was who we were playing in front of. That's what was really unique. I mean, the arena itself was on a military base, pretty unique arena. Elvis had a concert there, so that was pretty cool. But it was the military personnel in the audience that really made the games really unique. You know, you look out in the crowd, and you know, some of our parents were there, some fans for both teams, but the majority of the audience was military personnel in their uniforms, and they were enjoying the games just as much as the regular audience. So that was pretty cool to see. At first, we didn't know who it was. He came into the room. None of us were expecting it. So we found out he's a Pearl Harbor survivor. We had actually interacted with one in the airport too, and it's amazing to hear these people's stories. All their relatives are with them, and they're telling us about what he did on that day and sort of his impact on that whole event. And it's pretty cool to hear their stories and hear it 60, 70 years later.
All of those interactions are extremely special because you're speaking with someone who has had this experience that, I mean, the whole entire world knows about, and having the chance to do that in the way that we did and speak with them and hear some perspective, I think gives us a lot of perspective as college kids right now. You've heard about this event, you've heard about these attacks, and to really meet someone who was there and who experienced it and who was your age when they were going through that is something that's I think really awe-inspiring and makes us all step back a little bit and say, wow, that's really amazing.
The whole premise of our athletic department is education through athletics, and to have such a big part of our Princeton basketball family take part of the journey where we're learning about Pearl Harbor as well as competing in high-quality basketball games, I thought it was a great environment to kind of bring everyone together.
The thing that strikes me is the people. You got a pilot of a Raptor plane. It's a $150 million plane. And he's talking about the humility when you're on the ground, and he's standing there talking to us about being a pilot, the responsibility of what that means. When he gets up in the air, he talks about the confidence and almost the arrogance of flying the plane to be at its best and him to be at its best. So I think the military has a lot of sports analogies, but we can have some analogies for what these guys do. Number one, I think it's pride in what you do.
Perspective really took hold on the flight back. I actually had the chance to sit next to, by chance, a kid who was my age, 22 years old, in the Marines, and he was flying back for the first time for Christmas in 2 years. Hadn't been home in 9 months at that point, and he was super excited. He had 3 weeks off, and I just got a chance to talk to him for about an hour on the first flight when I was already exhausted. But he was so excited to talk to me, and I was so excited to talk to him that it ended up being a great conversation.
1, 2, 3! Go Princeton! Honor glory!
We had this awesome opportunity to see a display of active aircraft. A C-130, a refueler, a cargo plane, an Apache helicopter, an F-22. And right next to these planes were what looked like pilots. So you walk up to the plane and you say, conversation for a few minutes, and are you the pilot? And maybe you hurt their feelings if they're not the pilot, but not these people. They would say, no, actually, this is what I do. I'm the crew chief, and this is my responsibility, and this is why I'm good at it. So I would hope that our guys would take away the pride in doing your job really well, because everybody's butt's on the line in the military for what you do, and I thought there was pride in that, and that's what came across to me, and I hope the guys picked up on that too.